You've been gone, it's an empty home. Come on back where you really belong. You are always welcome home, welcome home. You've been kept down for much too long. Stand up, please, and say I am free. Don't forget you are welcome home, welcome home. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy and gay. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy and gay. You've been gone, it's an empty home. Come on back where you really belong. You are always welcome home, welcome home. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy.
Yeah, it's a kind of language. But actually, our people concerned with the development of people, development of country, and the development of territory. Because as a Pan-Africanist, for example, you have to accept rights for all African people and for all Angolan people too. You don't have discriminate people. We were against this kind of discrimination that remains up to now. So I think the influence of Soviet Union and the ambition of power, because all African countries faced problems of ethnicity. Normally, one party is based on one tribal or mainly one ethnic group. And when you take power, if you have army with you, we combat others,
other
ethnic group. The unique case where you avoid this was South Africa, because influence of Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela spoke to Angolan authorities, namely Mr. dos Santos, that it was important as an African to avoid
intra-African conflict, intra-African violence.
Yes, in the African violence. In South Africa, Buthelezi was practically manipulated in past by apartheid authorities. But Nelson Mandela came to him to make peace. It was extremely important, avoiding conflict between
killing ourselves.
Yes, and transfer this kind of contradiction
From
to-
outside into
for-
our countries.
Yes, but in dialogue, conversation,
Instead of violence,
in
yes.
terms of looking for solutions. That's our proposal, but MPLA was absolutist in his power and don't want this kind of situation.
Yeah, you know there's sometimes driving at which we are not talking about. What happened to you as a person?
Yeah, I was well. My colleagues were arrested, and I went to exile because in public meeting they accused me and they
In fact, we got the name Kilombo from one of your arrested colleagues.
promised to kill me publicly, and I went to the exile because I were member of Central Committee of MPLA at the time.
You have to go to meetings in which they can kill you.
Yeah, Central Committee at the time in 1975. So I put my letter of dismiss of some, not from Central Committee, but from other responsibilities that I have. The responsibility for, I was the main organizer of MPLA and a member of direction in Luanda, province of Luanda too. So I wrote a letter of because
You kept the
I-
Central
I-
Committee to still give a backing to yourself
it-
somehow.
Yes, because I was persecuted by my comrades, and I spoke with Agostinho Neto about that, about why the contradictions, the conflicts of thoughts inside MPLA became violent. Because, you know, this was a tradition in terms of liberation movement. During the struggle, a lot of members of MPLA were killed because difference of opinions, and they transport this kind of situation to the new situation. I don't accept this kind of things internally. If we begin in the same organization, we can have contradiction, but we have to discuss this contradiction. Don't kill people. So they put in prison a lot of colleagues of mine. They looking for me, but fortunately I escaped to exile for 10 years.
But you went rather to the colonial country, the colonizer of Angola.
Yeah.
When you were opposed to the colonial country,
Yeah.
you now have internal problems. Then you went to the colonizer. How can
Yes.
you explain this?
No, it was difficult. No, it was difficult because I was a progressive person, but in Portugal in that time the coup d'état changed its character for a progressive coup d'état. So the environment,
The tolerance of,
yes, yes, yes.
unwanted elements like you
Yes,
was
and,
possible.
and they made a DP democracy in terms of constitution and in terms of tolerance too. It was not a linear process, but with time the process. But it's important to say that Portugal was the good place for fighting for liberation of my colleagues and continue to influence the situation in Angola. In Portugal, we formed a lot of committees, organizations, African organization first, African organization first of African community, and then Angolan community too, for consensus people, and continue to fight for liberation of the political prisoners in Angola.
Yes, you talked about this 1979. 1979 seems to be in two parts. First, there was 15th May 1979 rebellion before the June 4th more successful rebellion. How do you see the two link? May 15th, General Rawlings' rebellion, his trial, with his rebellion involving people like Gachiko, Ali Yamo and Co. Then the June 4th. Were they linked? Is there any link?
Yes, there was a link.
And what's your organization's reaction to all this, most important? And what did your organization do subsequently through this and through the Liman period?
When May 15th took place, that one was confined mainly to men from the Air Force, Ali, Gachiko, and the rest. Then, after May 15th, Rawlings and the May 15th rebels were put to court. And you see, about that time, before just around May 15th, you see that the political balance of forces was such that something the Pan-African Youth Movement anticipated that something is happening in the army. We were well informed. And so we said, okay, the current of change, we must at least establish a bridgehead, because we had absolute faith in the fact that you cannot prosecute a genuine people's change only relying on the army as an institution. Therefore, at least with the link with the trade unions and others, we decided to initiate, but in the name of what we call Rawlings Defense Fund. You know, the defense committee, but then we were going to use it to mobilize legal support and funds.
But did you know Rawlings before them? Yes, Panimo, or was he a member of the Panimo?
No, he was not.
So what did you know of him to go into this risky business?
Okay, so what took place? As I'm
Yeah, you tell us later. Oh yes, okay.
So
Well,
we
just
decided that
interesting.
we were not that that time, May 15th, 79. Yeah, it was a military regime under General Afful. Okay, right. And for a non-military movement to put up that publicity, you know. So we move quickly, and link up with the rest, and people, you know, we didn't want to do it anonymously. So we had the names of people, we consulted some of our members to make sure that we respect a broad front under the Rawlings Defense Fund, Defense Committee. So the medical school Medical Association was involved. You know, we consulted the General Secretary at that time. The student from Techua Menu was a student, and at the same time, being a lawyer, was we established the link. The trade unions were represented formally by Mr. Atiaba, Opari, Koran, and Ibu Tewia.
Is that Opari Ababi or?
Yes, that's
Opari
his
Ababi.
full name.
Oh, okay.
Opari Ababi Koran.
Okay.
And those who could not be at the meeting to gave their accent to read. And so the meeting was scheduled for Saturday. Saturday, which was June 3rd. June 2nd, yes, because June 4th was a Monday. And then we sent emissaries around to the other regions. So we were to have the meeting on Saturday. Since something happened, so we had to wait up, and we drafted anything to be out for publication at the graphic. You paid money for it, so that yes, so that people should contribute. Their advert. Contribute their donations for the defense of anything, because we knew that it was not he standing up but a link. So at the time I was sent to Western region, and then that day, Monday morning, it was raining heavily over there. Yeah. Only to hear that something like that had gone on already. So we had to then, that is June 4th, the June 4th coming. Because but during this, we were trying to make links with Wachijan. Okay.
Oh, Wachijan, spokesman of the Armed Forces Liberation Council.
Later. When the thing took place, at least
So you knew Wachijan before June 4th?
Yes.
Okay. A little. Oh, we will come to that.
So the June 4th.
But you didn't know Rollins? No, you never heard of him before June 4th? Before May 15th? Before May 15th, okay. But you knew Wachijan?
Because of, he was connected with the Guinea press. He had worked there before, and others like other journalists who were
Christian Agri.
It's called, he wrote this, it's a writer, Anthony Kwesi. He wrote this play, The Struggling Black Race. He was still a spectator, and sometime we went there, and that's where we met Wachi. Wachi had worked there also at the Guinea press for a while, and we met. That's how Wachi did. But then, about this time, he was in the army. Then, so we tried to make inroads, to re-establish the whole thing. But all of a sudden, the move together was bashed by, with the
June 4th.
No, not June 4th. June 4th was not in existence then.
No, but the action. I mean the June 4 action.
Yeah, it preempted
Yes.
the whole thing. But luckily, they set up a timetable. So we had to then. But those that held on was mainly Batch and 4 and Bachi. Because
Oh, you knew Bayan too? Bachan for. Oh, you knew him through the AFAC. You knew him through Bwachijan. Okay.
not guy, but he but then
Mention his name.
this thing. And they were to hand over. So the programmed handing over was 24th September 79.
79.
And that was a Monday. So
Oh, you remember the day.
and
Good
on
memory.
24th. So on 22nd, which was a Saturday, the the potential Pan-African movement and all the rest
Yes.
were then the left movement, the nascent left movement was
Okay.
starting to build up. So we were able, we met Boachi, you know.
You met Bwachijan again?
Yes.
Was Rolling also
Under.
there?
No.
Oh, you are going
But
to
we
explain
knew-
something to me later. Yes, let's go.
But we knew that, we knew, you know, the trend of thoughts of.
Okay.
So we met Boachi at the ATTC, Accra Technical Training.
Oh, not far from Circle.
Yes. When we were coming, you know, we passed there. I
okay.
nearly was going to point out to this man a Saturday. Okay. But, and other representatives were about 22, you know, but most of them were also working class element. And other names maybe you need know. So, and there he suggested that they were then going to initiate, because the handing over details of the conflict which was going on, that after handing over, they have agreed to maybe give the man, the incoming government, free hand to operate. And to him, he saw them at least for now as as allies somehow. That's the PNP as an ally. So they will be leaving. And then he suggested the initiation of the monarchs.
Movement on National Affairs.
First. And to have a publication, the message, to be organized, you know, by other people who were in it. So they had to then, well, along the line, it appeared, but because he could foresee that the man was not the best, yeah, that the tendency for things to maybe revert to nothingness was there. So at least we entreated on him that maybe he should not leave
The country.
but it appears it was like these were some of the terms, you know. So he had to leave, and then it took about 27 months, right? And the second coming of Rollins, you know, took place.
So
There
in
are more
Portugal, what were you doing? How do you think that you built capacity for the grassroots movement in Angola, or was it just a waste of time? Or how do you reflect about your time in Portugal?
Now, in Portugal, it was a great time in terms of politics because first I were a worker in Portugal and a student too, and I'm fighting with Portuguese people of their rights in terms of
So you were not neutral
demonstration.
to the internal politics of Portugal as a progressive person,
Yes,
like
yes,
many of our immigrants
yes,
do when they
yes,
go
yes.
outside.
Now barriers in this case. I was in solidarity, and I participate in a lot of demonstrations in Portugal, I give my opinions as a student too, and I contact with the politicians in terms of influence the authorities in Angola for release my colleagues. I met people, for example, who were in prison with Agostinho Neto and discussed with them the problem in Angola, and they signed for liberation.
Were there Angolans in prison or Portuguese in prison with him? The people you met, were they Angolans or Portuguese?
No, Portuguese.
Portuguese who were in prison together with Agostinho.
Together, Agostinho Neto in Portugal.
In Portugal.
Yeah, because Agostinho Neto was in prison in Portugal too. So I contact several political parties and personalities to influence the situation in Angola, and I organize the communities, Angolan, Cape-Verdean, Guinea-Bissau, and so on, to study the problems of our countries and engage in a culture and with the communities in terms of consciousness of the problems, new problems of our countries too. And Portugal was still important to me also in terms of contact others, not Portugal only, but in France, in United Kingdom. I came there and I contact other African politicians, Africans, from Dahomey, from Fota, from
now Benin and Burkina Faso.
Yeah, Burkina Faso too. So it was a good experience to me to know a lot of people, to know new politicians, to know people from my generation, because a common situation, I think, happened in several countries.
Throughout Africa.
Yes. Group of people didn't accept the new power because they were oppressed power, and that kind of people were repressed, were expelled by the government, and we meet that people outside Africa, and we combine strategies for keep on fighting in our countries too.
And networking as well.
Networking
strength, so, like we always say in Kilombo.
So every time, every day, political work comes in now.
Politics 24 hours.
Yes, no stopping. At
the
same time, I did
I'm going to give you a number of questions at a go. Well, I'm getting a bit confused. Hilo Lehman, he contested elections against CPP in 1954. Hilo Lehman, he was again one of the drafters of the Constitution in 1969, which in its preamble considered the Nkrumah period as tyranny. So how come he was now the leader of the party which appeared to me to be Nkrumah's party? Because they used to say, Krobaduse used to say PMP, President Nkrumah's party. Then to you yourself, you never knew Rawlings. You need Boachija, you need Bachanfor. They had escaped, they had gone outside. Then all of a sudden, here you were, working with this Jerry John Rawlings, who you never knew, in the 31st December coup d'etat's aftermath, in the days of the Provisional National Defense Council. How do we fix all these contradictions? I know it's two loaded questions, but I know that you have the capacity to deflate it.
Well, you see, with the demand problem, note that when Nkrumah was in exile, when Nkrumah was in exile, the CPP, as I told you, by 69, up to 69, they were proscribed. Apart from that, there was an attempt to collapse it completely by saying that since when the return to civilian constitutional rule in 69, there was this idea that they should try and drive off, the party, the leftover of the CPP.
So they have the Komlak Belekbedema faction of the CPP coming back to replace the Nkrumah faction.
So, then they interpreted the constitution and said that because Imoro Igala had faced he had faced the commission of inquiry, that is therefore cleared for 10 years, he cannot contest any political office, contest for political office. So, but at the time, the feeling of most people was this, that a northerner, the tribal thing was setting, because when Nkrumah was away, most of the people were revolving around Imoro Igala, who was not